You know what nobody talks about? An entire generation played by the rules and then got blamed when the rules stopped working. I'm talking about millennials, the first generation raised on vision boards and motivational posters who grew up to need anxiety medication just to check their email. And before you think this is just another poor millennials rant, stay with me, because this isn't about laziness. It's about a psychological contradiction that no one prepared them for. Millennials were told something very specific growing up. Work hard, go to college, be ambitious, dream big. Success wasn't optional, it was expected. The 80s and 90s were peak optimism culture, self-esteem workshops. You're special, you can do anything. And here's the wild part, they believed it. They weren't entitled, they were conditioned. Then reality happened. The housing market collapsed, jobs evaporated, internships replaced entry-level careers, and suddenly the formula didn't compute. Because when you're raised on effort equals outcome, and effort stops producing outcome, your brain doesn't just adjust, it short-circuits. Psychologists call this learned disillusionment. When the system you trusted breaks in front of you, it doesn't just hurt financially, it fractures your sense of control. Now layer something else on top. Millennials became adults at the exact moment social media exploded. Not as kids, not as fully formed adults, but right in the middle of identity formation. Facebook launches in 2004, Instagram launches in 2010, which means millennials didn't just build careers, they built personal brands. They learned to measure their worth in engagement metrics. Dr. Tim Kasser found something disturbing in his research. The more people base their identity on external validation, money, image, status, the worse their mental health becomes. And what does social media train you to chase? External validation. So now you've got a generation trying to survive economically while performing stability publicly, posting vacation photos while checking their bank account in the airport bathroom. And then there's adulthood. Previous generations hit milestones in a predictable order. Career, marriage, house, kids, millennials. They hit buffering. Home prices doubled, student debt exploded, wages stagnated, so they delayed everything. And when you delay milestones, something subtle happens psychologically. You stop feeling like a real adult, even at 35, even at 40. There's a quiet shame that creeps in. Not because they don't want stability, but because stability became a luxury item. Now here's where it gets uncomfortable. Research by psychologist Jean Twenge found millennials score higher on measures of self-focus, but also higher on anxiety and depression. That's not narcissism, that's hyper-self-awareness. When the world feels unstable, you turn inward. You optimize yourself, your productivity, your habits, your mindset. Because if the system is broken, at least you can fix yourself. Except burnout doesn't respond to productivity hacks. And let's talk about loyalty. Millennials get criticized for job hopping. But look at the environment they entered. Pensions, rare, layoffs, normalized, gig work, celebrated. If institutions stopped being loyal to workers, why would workers stay loyal to institutions? That's not entitlement. That's adaptation. There's something else nobody says out loud. Millennials were the bridge generation. Old enough to remember life before the internet, young enough to build their adult identity inside it. They saw the shift in real time. They watched truth become algorithmic. They watched news become content. They watched outrage become currency. So yes, they question everything. Because they saw how narratives get constructed. And then there's climate anxiety. They were told to plan for retirement, while simultaneously being told the planet might not be stable in 30 years. That creates what psychologists call future compression. When long-term planning feels abstract because the future itself feels unstable, try saving for a 401k while doom-scrolling wildfires. So what do you actually get when you combine all of this? You get a generation that is highly educated, highly self-aware, financially strained, emotionally overstimulated, and perpetually waiting for things to click. They're not fragile, they're fatigued, there's a difference. And maybe the most misunderstood thing about millennials is this: they still believe in fairness, they just no longer believe it's automatic. That shift creates cynicism on the outside and idealism on the inside, which looks confusing, until you realize it's exactly how humans respond when the map no longer matches the terrain. If this resonated with you, it's not random. It means you've felt that gap between expectation and reality. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Millennials aren't broken, they're recalibrating. In real time, under pressure, in public. Because here's what nobody tells you about recalibration. It's messy. It doesn't look inspiring. It looks like quitting jobs without a backup plan. It looks like moving back in with your parents at 32. It looks like starting over in a completely different career at 38. And older generations look at that and see instability. But psychologically, that's pattern correction. When the old map fails, you don't keep following it out of pride. You redraw it. Millennials are doing something subtle but historic. They're redefining success in real time. For their parents, success was stability. For millennials, success is flexibility. That's not accidental. It's adaptive psychology. When the environment becomes unpredictable, the organism that survives isn't the strongest. It's the most adaptable. And adaptability doesn't look glamorous. It looks like side hustles, remote work, freelance contracts, career pivots, digital businesses launched from kitchen tables. It looks chaotic from the outside, but internally, it's strategy. There's another psychological shift happening too. For decades, identity was built around work. What do you do? That question defined you. Millennials started answering differently. They don't want work to be their entire personality, not because they're lazy, but because they watch their parents sacrifice everything for companies that downsized them anyway. That leaves a mark. When loyalty gets punished, attachment changes. So millennials diversified their identity. They're creators, travelers, podcast listeners, therapy goers, side project builders. They're not less committed, they're less naive. And here's where it gets interesting. The very things millennials get mocked for are the same things shaping the future. Remote work, mainstream now, mental health days, normalized, work-life balance, corporate buzzword, therapy talk, standard conversation. They didn't break the system. They pressured it, slowly, publicly, collectively. But there's still tension, because recalibration takes time, and time feels expensive when rent is due. There's a constant low-grade anxiety humming in the background. Not panic, not crisis, just pressure. Psychologists call it anticipatory stress. Your body preparing for impact even when you're just sitting at your desk. That's why so many millennials feel tired even when they technically slept 8 hours. Their nervous systems rarely power down. And yet, despite all of it, they're still building, still creating, still questioning, still trying. That's the part people miss. This isn't a defeated generation, it's a disillusioned one. And disillusionment is dangerous in one of two ways. It either creates apathy, or it creates reform. Millennials haven't chosen apathy, they chose awareness. And awareness is uncomfortable. It ruins simple narratives. It makes you skeptical of easy answers. It forces you to confront complexity. So when someone says, why don't millennials just buy houses? What they're really asking is, why don't they live inside the same economic conditions we did? And that question ignores the obvious. The landscape changed, and humans respond to landscapes, not nostalgia. The generation that was told they could be anything became the generation that realized you can't be everything. And that realization is maturity, not failure. Maybe millennials weren't meant to replicate the past. Maybe they were meant to interrupt it, to question it, to stress test it, to expose its cracks. That's not comfortable work, but it's necessary work. And if you zoom out far enough, you start to see something bigger. Every generation gets shaped by a defining tension. The silent generation had survival. Boomers had expansion. Gen X had skepticism. Millennials have contradiction, high expectation, low stability, constant visibility, delayed certainty. And contradiction doesn't destroy people, it forces evolution. So no, they're not broken. They're not entitled. They're not weak. They're navigating the largest social, technological, and economic shift in modern history, while being memmed about avocado toast. That's not fragility, that's resilience under satire. And here's the final uncomfortable thought. If millennials feel tired, it might not be because they failed. It might be because they're carrying a transitional layer on their backs, bridging analog to digital, stability to volatility, privacy to performance. That's heavy. So the next time someone says millennials are confused, maybe that confusion is just intelligence adjusting to complexity. Maybe anxiety is what awareness feels like in an unstable world. And maybe, just maybe, the generation everyone critiques is quietly redesigning the rules for the next one. If this hit deeper than you expected, good. Because psychology isn't about blame, it's about understanding the pattern beneath the behaviour. And once you see the pattern, you stop asking, what's wrong with them? And start asking, what changed? Subscribe if you want more deep dives like this, because this conversation is just getting started.